Hello everyone, welcome to Jolly Molly TV. Today we have a beautiful stained glass nativity ornament set that we're going to make with designs by embroiderylibrary.com. Look how the light shines through this. This is beautiful. It's going to feature stained glass design with water-soluble stabilizer and a little trick I'm going to show you of iridescent mylar. That's just going to allow these ornaments to sparkle and shine. It's going to be beautiful. I can't wait. So let's go ahead and get started and let me show you what supplies you need to make this beautiful project. Okay, the first supply item that you're going to need is your design. And this project, we're doing the stained glass nativity ornaments, and that design is available at embroiderylibrary.com. It's embroidery.com. I'll also put a link in the description below to make it a little bit easier for you. So once I get to that website, I'm going to type in stained glass in their search area at the top. The very first design that comes up is the project we're working on, the stained glass nativity ornament. This design is available in a complete design pack of all 6 ornaments, or you can purchase 1 or 2 of them separately. Whatever you decide that you want to do, you don't have to make all 6. You can just choose 1 or 2 or 3, or if you want, you can make the whole collection. It's up to you. The design is available in 2 sizes. The largest is a 4.9 inch by 6.52, and the smallest is a 2.88 by 3.84 inch. This small design will fit in your 4x4 hoop. The larger design will fit in a 5x7 hoop. And in this video, I'm going to be making the large design in my 5x7 hoop. So just select which designs you'd like or the design pack, purchase them and download them to a USB flash drive to be able to put them on your embroidery machine. Also, I'm going to click on this one here, and I'm going to show you, you need to print out this color change sheet. It's represented by this little thread symbol here. Click on that and you can print this out. Hopefully you have a color printer so you can see the exact color changes that we're going to be doing in this project. Another idea is if you want to save printing it out, if you have a computer nearby, or you can bring an iPad nearby your embroidery machine, you can actually bring this up and just have it digitally on your screen right next to the machine. I tend to do that sometimes, and that saves me on ink. So if you look down here, it shows unique colors. These are the colors that are used in the design. Up here is the actual order of the color thread changes. So I tend to look at this. Also, if you want to change this colorway up a little bit, you can do that, because up above in the color thread change area, it'll actually show you, like this one, the Scarlet Rose, is for Joseph's robe details. The robin's egg is for baby Jesus's wrap and Mary's shawl details. So they'll give you a little bit of information as to where this color is going to be used. So if you wanted to change this, like instead of making their halo yellow, you wanted to make it a little more gold, it gives you an idea of where that color is used. So you can change that out to be whatever color you want. So again, either print this out or have this available by your computer. Download your designs, and that's all you need from Embroidery Library. So let's go to the table and look at the remaining supplies that you need in order to make this amazing project. Let's go. Okay, so there's a few other supplies that you need in order to make this project. First of all, you're going to need the hoop for your machine, whether you've chosen the 5x7 inch hoop like I have here for this video, or you've chosen the 4x4 inch hoop. Go ahead and grab that hoop. Then we're going to be needing some stabilizer to put in this hoop. And the stabilizer that I am using in this project is by Kimberbell. It's their wash away embroidery stabilizer. It's kind of a woven, and it's really cool because this one only has a 20-second dissolve in cool water. So this one I love to use for any freestanding lace projects, which this is basically freestanding lace because we're doing a nativity scene with organza. And one little special trick I'm going to show you here in a second. And then we're going to wash most of this away at the end, so the light is going to be able to shine through the ornament very nicely. So Kimberbill has some amazing wash away embroidery stabilizer for this. I am using the 12-inch by 10-yard roll. They also have a 20-inch, which we can use for larger projects. But for this, because I'm in a 5 by 7-inch hoop, I need at least the 12-inch length to be able to fit into my hoop. So you need your stabilizer. The next thing you're going to need is a piece of organza. In this case, I'm using white organza for all of these ornaments so that the colors of the thread shine brightly. They're not competing against any other color in the organza. So there's a very pretty white organza. I actually get mine at Joann's. I get it when they put it on sale, and I'll get like a whole assortment of colors, but I always get a lot of white because I use white for a lot of things. So you need a piece of that, large enough to have a little bit of space around the outside of your hoop. Okay, so let's go ahead and hoop this. For this project, you only need one sheet of the stabilizer. If you watched my video on the stained glass lighted blocks, because those are a lot more stitch intensive, you needed 2 sheets of the stabilizer. But for this ornament, 1 sheet will work nicely for the ornament. I think the stained glass one went up to 56 or 57,000 stitches. So in that case, you needed a little bit more support, whereas we used 2 sheets. The ornament, we only need 1. So I'm putting my organza pretty side up. There's one side that's a little bit prettier than the other. It really doesn't matter, probably, but I try to see which side I like and put that face up. And then we're going to hoop it. And the trick to hooping it is you need to hoop it tightly. So we're going to put it down like so. And you see it's got a little bit of give. So I'm going to go around the outside, just gently pull. I don't want to tug real hard. I don't want to pull unnecessarily because I don't really want to stretch that out. I have a few more, so I'll come back up and I'll pull just on the organza, just to pull that little ripple out. I don't want it to be super tight, but I want it to be flat so nothing moves. All right. And if you have any doubt, undo it and start over. Okay, there's nothing that's saying that you have to hoop it once. In this case, I want to just run it through. Make sure, again, everything's flat. Needs to come a little bit this way. There we go. All right, tighten it a little bit. Again, come around. This is kind of crucial to the success of your stitch out, because if you hoop too loosely, the organza will shift. It's a very fine fabric. All right, tighten it. And then I want to come in just a teeny bit and pull the organza. As I see a little wrinkle right there that I don't want. There we go. I don't want that to be in there. Okay, that looks great. And then tighten the hoop as tight as you physically can. Okay, that will keep everything from moving. You can pin it if you want. You don't have to. You see in my videos, it's a little piece of thread, not a big deal. I don't pin it. I just hoop it, and I hoop it securely so nothing's going to shift. But if you're a little bit loose of a hooper, not a problem. Go ahead and do the same thing, and then just put a couple pins up here in the upper part and the lower part. That'll help keep the organza in place. It all depends on if your strength capability. If you can't hoop very tightly, you could get a pair of soft nose pliers to try to help with the hoop, because you don't want things to move. The next thing that we need, especially for this project, is going to be the special effect that we're using of Iridescent Mylar. This project is going to be absolutely stunning and amazing if you add Mylar to it. I have the Iridescent Mylar on my Etsy website. I'll put the link in the description below. And it comes with 3 sheets that measure 18 inches by 30 inches. And this iridescent mylar is going to make your ornaments just sparkle and shine. It's very hard to see it on camera, but what this iridescent mylar does is it doesn't pick any particular color to let it pop. So if you pick like blue mylar, which I also have on my website, that is going to have the blue shine through the mylar and the thread will be a little bit diminished. What this does, this iridescent mylar, is it allows the thread to be the item that pops. So whatever color thread you put on this iridescent mylar, the thread pops and the mylar just twinkles and sparkles underneath. It's beautiful. You'll see it once we get there. It's stunning. So what you need is, if you choose to do this, is to cut a piece of mylar the size of the inside of your entire hoop area. This is a 5x7 hoop, but the inside dimensions measure 6x9. Okay, you need a piece that fits the entire inside, because as this starts to stitch, it will pull the mylar in ever so gently. So what you want is you want a big piece all the way to the edge. In my case, I cut mine 6x9, so that I will never run out of mylar as it's stitching. And you'll see when we get down to the end, the mylar actually fits like from here to here, but it still completely covers the stitch area. That's the action of it being pulled in a little bit while it stitches. So if you want to try the mylar, I highly recommend it. You can kind of see right now what it looks like before we do it. But trust me, it just sparkles. And if I can imagine this on a Christmas tree with the ornament, with the stained glass, with the mylar on the top, it's just going to shimmer and sparkle. I cannot wait. So one other thing that you need supply-wise is an embroidery tape or a blue painter's tape, because what we want to do, we're actually going to use it right now since I'm here. I want to just ever so gently tape this down. And I mean ever so gently, because we will actually move it throughout the stitches as the mylar starts to pull in. But I just want it to be absolutely flat as we're going into this. And if there's a crease in the mylar from packaging, don't worry about that. The stitches, as it stitches, it will take that crease away. It's really easy. Now the trick to the side is I only want to touch a little bit of the mylar. The stitching area is going to come way out. And in fact, as we get to the border of the ornament, we're actually going to move this tape. But this is just a starter piece. Press out the mylar so that it doesn't move in the first stages of the stitch down. And of course, we're going to be there to watch it. We're going to shift this up a little bit just to keep it flat. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I just want to keep it flat. Okay, so blue painter's tape will work good with that too if you don't have the pink embroidery tape. Okay, so that is all hooped and the supplies are done for that. Let's move that to the side. The last supplies that you need some fabric scissors. You need your embroidery scissors that you're trimming off your threads at the machine. You need a small ruler. This is a 3x12, just because when we're done, we're going to be trimming up some of the excess stabilizer, and the ruler is helpful for that. You need a rotary cutter, okay, and you need your thread. Now, we talked earlier when we were at the computer about the color change sheet. So just go to your stash and pull threads that you'd like to use for the stained glass ornaments. Change it up, do whatever colors you want. I'm using polyester embroidery thread versus rayon. And the reason I'm using polyester is it's a more universal embroidery thread that the color will not fade on. Rayon is gorgeous, but over time the color will fade. And so we don't want that. Rayon may be acceptable if you're not going to clean these ornaments at all, and most likely you won't be. But if they're in the sun at the window, the colors may fade over time. So I'm just going to use polyester thread for this project. Now, the next question is going to be, do you need a bobbin at the bottom of the machine for each color change? This is a personal choice. In this project, I'm not going to be changing out the bobbin thread until we get to the black satin stitch stained glass accent and the border. I'm going to use white thread in the bobbin for the entire thing. Then we get to the end, the last stitch out, which is the stained glass effect. I'm going to put a black bobbin down below and this black thread up top. So that way, say for example, the ornament is on the tree and you look at the side, you're going to see a completely black side to it, bottom and top. You won't see the two-tone color. So it'll give more of a solid effect around the sides of the ornaments. Because I'm using Mylar on the top, this ornament is definitely going to have a top and a bottom. And that's why I'm choosing to do the white bobbin all the way on the back except for the black. I think this is going to be gorgeous and I'm going to try to face this toward the front, but it's a personal choice. So if you'd like to change the bobbin for each color, you can. Just wind a bobbin for every color thread that you're using for the project. Okay? Personal preference. You get to choose. That's one of the reasons why I love machine embroideries, because you can pick and choose whatever color you want. All right, the last thing we're going to do for supplies, if you have this is not mandatory. If you have this, we're going to be using this at the end. This is a kind of a hot tool, kind of like what they use for wood burning. It has different tips to it. I'm going to show you at the very end 2 ways to finish off this ornament. And one of them is going to be using this versatile hot tool. The other way is going to be just by trimming up close to the ornament. I'll show you both ways because you don't have to have this. If you have this, this is great. This will give you a nice finished, non-raveling edge to the organza. If you don't, that's okay. I will show you how to trim it up. One last thing you'll need at the end is, of course, standard iron. Here, an iron and an ironing station when we press out the ornaments before we finish it up. All right. So these are basically all the supplies you need in order to do this amazing project. All right, is everybody ready? So let's take our hoop and head over to the machine and let's get started stitching. Okay, so just if you want to follow along, I have a dream machine. So if you have something similar, these instructions will work for you. Otherwise, we will just load your design on your machine. I keep everything on my flash drive. So I'm going to look for my stained glass folder and ornaments. And there they are. And we're going to stitch this one right here that has the baby Jesus on it. So we're going to click set. And then we don't have to change anything. It's about 31,000 stitches. And so I'm going to click set. And I don't have to move anything. Everything's good to go. So I'm going to click embroidery. So let's go ahead and go back to the hoop cam. Okay, so now I've got a pretty good size white bobbin in the bottom of my machine because I'm going to use white bobbin thread for all of the design until I get to the stained glass outlines. If you would like to change colors, then put your red bobbin down below because we're going to stitch out his robe first. But I'm going to basically allow the back side to be black and white and the front side's going to have the mylar and sparkle. So it's just a personal preference and choice. It doesn't matter which way you go. It's which way you want your ornament to be. Right? Right. Okay, so now I've put the hoop on. On my hoop, I have the 1 layer of the wash-away stabilizer. I have 1 layer of organza, and then I have the beautiful iridescent mylar just floating on top, connected with tape. Okay, you don't want to hoop the mylar. You just want to cut it to fit, like I mentioned before, and just float it on top with a little bit of tape. So we are ready to get started. So the first color that I'm going to put in is the red for his robe. So I'm going to put this thread in the top of my machine. Okay. So I've changed it up. I'm going to put this darker red in the top of my machine because I want his robe to be a little bit darker. And then the second one is the accent, which will be a lighter red. So I'm going to put this darker thread in the top of the machine. And we're going to get started stitching. This is my favorite part. Yeah. All right, here we go. Okay. And I'm not really going to mess with the Mylar too much. The tape will hold it into place. I'm just going to watch and make sure it doesn't grab and pull substantially, but it shouldn't. The Mylar kind of has a static cling to the fabric, so it shouldn't go anywhere even without the tape. But I am going to just make sure the tape doesn't get pulled as it starts stitching out the outline. Ready? Let's go. Okay, and just to stop it, you can see it's kind of bunching up here a little bit. That's as it starts to move. So I'm going to lift the tape and just kind of reposition it a little bit and straighten that out. That's going to happen as it stitches because it's going to start to pull the Mylar in. That's fine. You just want to make sure that it doesn't pull it all the way over so that you don't have enough to cover the design. But I just kind of eyeball and watch it as it does it. Here we go. All right, looks good. And don't worry if it has these little like crinkle lines or something. That is to be expected. That's what it's going to do with Mylar. What it basically does is as the machine, I call it, stitches the outline, it'll go through and do the outer edges. It'll crinkle a little bit like this. But again, just watch it and make sure it doesn't get folded over like this or something so that you're going to lose Mylar coverage. You allow it to wrinkle a little bit, allow it to move. That's what it's going to do. The Mylar will not lie perfectly flat the entire time like a piece of fabric because it's very, very thin. As long as you keep it to the point where it's covering all of the fabric, you are good. Okay? It's going to look gorgeous, trust me. All right, so the next color that we're going to put in the top of the machine is going to be a lighter red to kind of give the robe some accent color. So I'm going to just put in the lighter red because I want it just to be a slight difference on there. And I'm going to put this in the top of my machine and we're going to stitch out the next section of his robe. Okay, here we go. Oop, I got a loop. I got to get that loop out. It'll break a needle. All right, the loop is out. Let's go. Okay, that is a good color contrast there. So now we're going to put the next thread up on top, which is Baby Jesus's wrap. So they have a robin's egg. I'm going to go pretty close, which is kind of like a seafoam light turquoise color. I think that'll be pretty. So put your thread of choice up above in your machine. And, oops, sorry about that. This is about a 3-minute in real life stitch out, so we'll fast forward through this one again. But you ready? Okay, here we go. And it's so pretty. It's really hard to see on camera, but that Mylar is just starting to sparkle underneath all that. I love it. Mylar, especially the iridescent Mylar, just makes your design sparkle and shine. It's just beautiful. It's hard to describe it. Hopefully Later, I can get a good shot in the camera to show you how much it sparkles. It's just gorgeous. I'm not really having to worry about the Mylar much now because it's almost at the edges. It'll have a little bit more up here I'll have to watch. But down here, it's pretty well good. It's not going to move or shift too much more. So I'm just going to watch it again when it goes up here when we start to do the purple. But right now, we are good. All right. So let's put the next color of thread up in your machine. And on the color change sheet, it shows a baby chick color. So I went kind of with a brighter yellow because I'm trying to do bright colors to make this really pop. So this is going to be for the halo and the stars. So put your thread up in the top of the machine. You're getting good at this. You are. And it's going to be so pretty. Make sure you take your old thread out the front. Always take it out the front. Don't pull it back in your machine. The thread is meant to go through your machine down through the front, not meant to go back in. So you want to try to always make sure you pull the old thread straight out this way. All right? Little trick of the trade. All right, we've loaded our thread and our needle, and let's stitch this out. This is, again, a 3-minute in real life stitch out. So let's fast forward. Here we go. That is looking really good. And don't worry, like up here, if you see a little kind of, I call it a puddle of Mylar, it's not absolutely flat. Don't worry about that because as it stitches over, it's going to flatten all of that out. So that will not be an issue. Mylar and the stitch out is pretty forgiving. So you don't have to worry too much if there's a little bit of a extra poof there. Not a problem. The next step is to pick a color of thread that you'd like their faces to be. So choose that and then load that color in the top of your machine. Again, make sure you take the old thread out the front. This is fun, huh? You're getting there. Getting good. All right, let's thread the needle. And this is a 2-minute in real life stitch out. All right, here we go. All right, and see that little poof that I had up there? The stitching just flattened that out very nicely. That's the wonderful thing about Mylar. It's very, very flexible, very thin, and doesn't really cause too many problems. All right, so the next thread I'm going to put in is going to be for the hair. So they've said a chestnut. You can pick whatever color hair you'd like. And put that color thread up top. And this is only a 1-minute stitch out. So this is going to be very fast. Oop, gotta take the old one out. There you go. All right, you ready? Oh, I have a loop. Go back here and get that loop out so it doesn't wrap around the foot and break a needle. Here we go. Let's go. Okay, we are moving right along. All right, now what I want to do is I want to gently take the hoop off the machine. And I'm going to loosen up this Mylar. The next step, it's going to stitch up here. And this is being pulled a little bit tight now because, like I said, as it stitches, it draws the Mylar in a little bit. So now I just want to lift this up, loosen the tape, give it a little bit more room on each side. Let's do this one. This one's pretty good. And then also on the sides. Just so that the Mylar is not pulled too tight as it's trying to stitch the next section. The Mylar is a little bit loose, but you can see how it's pulling in. That's normal. I just don't want it to have too much tension up here as it starts to stitch this top section. So I want to loosen that up a little bit. Give it a little room to breathe, all right? So the next color is on the color change sheet is a blackberry purple. I've chosen this kind of a dark, almost a Victorian purple for my ornament. So I'm going to put this thread up on top. Put your thread color of choice. Take the old thread straight out. Here we go. And we're ready to stitch out the top. This is a 2-minute stitch out in real life. Get my loop out again. There we go. You ready? Let's go. Okay, isn't that looking great? So you can kind of see even more of the sparkle from the Iridescent Mylar. I love it. All right, ready for the next thread? It is a purple pansy. In my case, it's more like a royal purple. So put that color thread, or the thread of your choice, up above. Again, make this your own. If you want to make it with a pink background, go for it. You can do anything you want. It's your ornament. Okay, again, let me get that loop out. Yeah, a little bit more. There you go. Okay. All right, let's go. This is a 2-minute in real life stitch out. Here we go. We are getting there. Look at that. Okay, the next color on the color change sheet is a Mystic Lavender. So I went with something similar, a light lavender. So I'm going to put that thread up on top. This is a 4-minute stitch out in real life. But you are almost there. You realize we're almost done with the color changes, which will lead us to that black stained glass outline. We're almost there. Okay, here we go. Let's stitch this out. All right, we have one color left before we get to the stained glass. So that color is a dark periwinkle, and in my case I kind of chose a lighter, almost a Victorian purple, kind of muted, but I think that'll look very pretty against the light lavender color. So that's the color I chose. Pick yours, put your thread up on top, and we're going to stitch this out. This is a 2-minute in real life stitch out. And then we're ready after that for the stained glass outline. And then it's really going to pop. It's going to be amazing. All right, here we go. Okay, now we got a few things to do before we can start to stitch the black. All right, the first thing that I want to do is I want to take the hoop gently off the machine, and I want to switch out my bobbin thread in the bottom. Remember I said earlier I'm going to use black in my bobbin down below because when the ornament turns on its side, or you look at it from the side on the Christmas tree, I don't want to see half black and half white edging. So we're going to do all black for the edging. So black bobbin down below, then black thread. I'm almost off done with this spool. Black thread and the machine above. And I have mine on a stand, so I've got to run it behind the machine. Adding a black thread above. And I have a little knot in the end there, so I'm going to take that off. All right, so now we're going to take the hoop and we need to loosen up the Mylar again on the top and the bottom. And then we need to do an adjustment on the sides. And if you see where I have the tape, the outside border is going to come right up to that tape. So I'm going to gently take the tape off and I'm going to reposition it so it's just touching the Mylar. So it has plenty of space to do that. This one's pretty good, but I'm going to do it with it anyway. I kind of turn the tape on its side. It doesn't need as much support from the tape as this point. It's just to keep it from rippling up into a kind of a ball as it comes around. Kind of keeps the Mylar flat. But I want to make sure that it's out of that stitch line. I need about 1/4 of an inch on each side where it's going to stitch the black. So we are now good. Okay. Again, the tape holds it in place, but we want the tape out of the way. All right, so now we have the black thread up on top. We have black thread down below. I want to rethread my needle here. There we go. And get that loop out. There we go. All right, this is a 33-minute stitch out. Obviously, we're going to fast forward through this, but all you need to do is just keep an eye on the Mylar. Make sure it stays flat, doesn't bunch up here on the two sides, and just enjoy the stitch out. All right, here we go. This is going to be amazing because you're really going to see this design come to life. Let's go. You did it! I'm going to take the hoop gently off the machine. Isn't that gorgeous? Isn't that beautiful? I know it's really hard to see the sparkle. Hopefully on the table I'll be able to show you the sparkle. It's just gorgeous. The Mylar just twinkles from underneath that stitching, and it enhances every single color. Love it! Well, you did amazing. So now go ahead and take the hoop over to your table, and we're going to finish up this block. I'm also going to stitch out the rest of the ornaments in this collection. You can do the same thing if you like. If you want to make more than one of this, same thing. What I would do is rewind this video and go back to the start, and it's the same process. One layer of the wash away stabilizer, one layer of the organza, float your Mylar, and do the stitch out. You can do this. You've got it. You can do this. So stitch out as many ornaments as you'd like. I'm going to stitch out the last 5 of the collection, and then I will meet you over the table, and then I'm going to show you how to finish up these ornaments. I'll meet you at the table very shortly. Okay, we're at the table. Isn't this gorgeous? Can you see the sparkle of that iridescent Mylar? It's just beautiful. I love how it accents the top thread. It kind of picks up that color, but allows us a little bit of sparkle to come through. It's just stunning. I love iridescent Mylar. Just love it. Okay, so now that we're at the table, I'm going to show you with the magic of TV the rest of the ornament collection. Okay, here we go. This collection on Embroidery Library has 6 ornament designs in it. And like I said, you don't have to do all 6. You can do whatever you like, but I went ahead and stitched out the collection so you could see how each one looks with the Mylar on it. I just love it. Just love it. I can't wait to put this on my tree. Isn't that beautiful? That's the angel. And then we have the camel with the lamb and the donkey. Just love it. And then we have the town. Isn't that beautiful? So you can pick and choose whatever you like, but this is an amazing collection. Look at that. Amazing. Get that one in the shot there. Okay, so we have 1. Put these all back. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to take just a pair of scissors and I want to make a cut in the Mylar all the way up to the satin stitches so I can tear the Mylar off the ornament. And literally it will just rip very nicely right along the satin stitch. And this one, it left a little piece. Oops. So I'm going to take my embroidery scissors and just start the Mylar again and just rip it right away. This is another beautiful thing about Mylar. It rips very easily right along the satin stitches. Okay. That's going to have a mind of its own there and get stuck to me. And then I'm going to start it again. All you need is a slight cut on the Mylar and it will rip away very nicely. There's a couple of pieces left here. Not a problem. I'm going to rip those away, and there's one little piece here. Just be careful not to stitch toward the satin stitching. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, so now it's leaving just the organza and the wash away stabilizer. So now I'm just going to take a ruler and I want to leave about a 1/2 inch from the satin stitch, and I'm going to just trim off the excess of the organza and the wash away stabilizer. I'm not trimming up the ornament at this point. I am just giving it a 1/2 inch around the outside edge, and I'm getting rid of the excess just to make it a little bit easier to deal with for the next step, and a little less stabilizer that has to be washed away at the end step. So I've got the bulk of it taken off around the edges. Now this is more manageable to deal with. Okay, and you can see the Mylar is still in that ornament hook area. We'll deal with that here in a second. So now I'm going to take my fabric scissors and I'm going to trim around the edge, leaving about 1/8 of an inch around. And the reason I want to do that is I don't want to nick the satin stitches, but I want to trim it up nicely so that the only thing that's going to be left when we're done with the ornament is a little bit of organza around the outside edge. And if you can see here, here's the back of my hand, you can see just 1/8 of an inch. This is option 1 for your finishing. Okay, when we're all done with the ornament, I will show you another little option 2 if you have that wood burning tool where we can actually trim this part up. Just like I did with the stained glass blocks, I just trimmed 1/8 of an inch and it looked just fine. Just make sure you don't nick those satin stitches, okay? And I'm going to go all the way up, and we'll fast forward through this little bit. And let's fast forward while I trim up the rest of this, and I'll show you the next step. So now I got those trimmed up. Let's get my mess out of the screen here, and I'm going to grab my embroidery scissors. Okay, because now we have to go into the inside of the ornament hook. So I'm going to bend it back a little bit and make a little snip. Okay, that's going to get me on the inside. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to trim in a circle as close as I can get without nicking the satin stitches. Okay, this is a little bit more challenging, but just take it slow and just circle yourself around on the inside, trimming both the organza and the mylar in a little circle. Whoops. Very delicately there. Hope you can see it on camera. So I'm trimming the inside of that ornament loop. Okay. And you can always neaten it up as well. Okay, but that's what they show on the Embroidery Library website, is just trimming that away so that you can put your ribbon in there. Okay, so this is one option to finish it up. Again, like I said, I will show you a second option that'll even trim this up even nicer with that wood burning tool if you happen to have one. But we'll do that after we take away the wash-away stabilizer. Now I want to trim up any excess threads that are sticking out on the back to make the back look nice as well. Those are usually your start and stop threads that are kind of hanging out there. Just trim those up, make it look pretty so the back side looks nice, and do that with each one of your ornaments. Okay, there we go. A little bit more over here. All right, so that looks good. Ooh, one more. Okay, so that looks good too. So now this beautiful sparkly ornament is ready for the next step, which is going to be to get rid of the majority, but not all, the majority of this stabilizer. First thing I want to do is I want to clean my table and get the towel out and get a spritz bottle, and we're going to work on this. Okay, I've trimmed up all of the ornaments, made the little holes in the loop, trimmed up the backs, make them look pretty, and now we're ready for the next step. Can you see the sparkler in those? They're just so pretty. Look at that. I just love it. So let's work on the next step. What we're going to do is put a towel down on your surface. We're going to turn the design right side down so that the wrong side is facing up. We're going to use a spritz bottle and we're going to get the back of this wet. Now, I don't want to take all of the stabilizer out. I want to take about 90%. I want to leave a little bit so that the ornament stays stiff and doesn't like wrinkle and curl up on the Christmas tree. So I want to make sure that I'm just taking away the majority of it, but I'm not rinsing out all of it. Okay. You could actually choose not to rinse out the stabilizer at this point. Okay. The reason I'm doing it is because I want a little bit more light to shine through, but I still want it to be stiff. So I'm just going to take away, like I said, probably 90% of it so that the light will shine through more on the tree, but that it will still allow this ornament to be stable. I'm not running it through the faucet on a heavy stream of water, and I'm not rinsing any of this down the sink because this water-soluble stabilizer will actually clog up your sink. So what I do is I spritz it with water, and then I'm going to blot it with a paper towel, and I folded the paper towel in half. This way the paper towel is taking up the stabilizer, and at the end I throw this away. I don't have to worry about clogging my pipes or anything else. So you ready? All right, so let's go ahead. Come on, start spritzing. There we go. And you'll see the areas get darker as they get wet. And you'll start to see the color come through the ornament. Okay. So I'll just get a little bit. There we go. So that all the stabilizer is right. And you can see the colors. You can see through it now a little bit more. So this is a 20-second dissolve. So literally within 20 seconds, this stabilizer is ready to be literally dissolved and taken off. So you can start to see through now. Oh, that's pretty. That's really pretty. Okay. So like I said, you'll start to feel the stickiness on your towel. And just keep blotting it. The main reason you blot is because it helps the item, in this case the ornament, keep its shape. And it doesn't cause any distortion or anything. And at the end, we'll give it a little press as well, just in case some of the corners come up. But that looks good. And I'm going to be able to hold it up to the light, and I'm going to be able to see more through it. And look at that sparkle. Look at that sparkle. That's what we want. So I'm going to do this to all of the ornaments, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we have them all done. So then what I want to do is I'm going to fold my towel back up. That one section is what I got wet, and I have this all down now. So I'm going to put each of the ornaments down so they can dry. Okay. Each one down here. Let's see if I can get them all to fit. And here. Okay. So now I'm just going to let these dry overnight. Are they pretty? They're so pretty. Okay, so let yours dry overnight, and we'll come back here and I'll show you the last two steps. One, will be pressing them out, and two, if you want to try the optional wood burning tool to trim up the sides. All right, we're almost done, and I'll meet you back here when they're dry. Okay, they're all dry. Look at this. Now you can really see the sparkle. Look at that. Look at that. Iridescent Mylar is my favorite accessory to machine embroidery now. I love the regular Mylars too, the metallics, but this iridescent, it just is the icing on top of the cake. It makes any normal embroidery project just sparkle. Now, mind you, there's certain designs that are stitched to be able to allow the Mylar, and this is one of them. If you're using a solid stitched design area, your Mylar isn't going to help, because the more solid the stitch, the Mylar can't shine through. But designs like this that are stitched with space in between allows the Mylar to pop through and shine, and that's where you're going to get the best effect with using any Mylar, but especially Iridescent Mylar. It's just so beautiful. Okay, enough of drooling over these. Let's go ahead and get them pressed out, because you can see they're a little misshapen from drying, and we're going to fix that right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the designs and we're going to put them face down. You can probably do two at a time. Face down, and then we want some sort of a pressing sheet, whether it's a simple towel or it's a pressing sheet like this. We want something to protect the design and the organza from the heat of the iron. And we're going to start on low, and we're going to see if that will press these out. Organza is a type of fabric that will melt. So if we hit this directly with the high heat, the organza would melt. We don't want that to happen. So I always start with low first with a pressing sheet, and then we'll see how that takes. And then if it doesn't heat up enough, then I can bump it up to medium, only because I have a very thick pressing sheet, which will protect the Mylar, and I can do it for just a little bit. Don't leave it on very long, but you can do it for just a little bit if you have to go to medium. And that's what happened with the stained glass blocks. And that was the temperature that it took to iron those out or press those out. So I'm just going to go very slowly and not stay on for too long. And let's see what low will do. Now, I'm going to need to bump it up to medium. So let me turn my iron up to medium. Spread these out a little bit. And let's try it again. Okay, it's ready. Okay, so I'm just going to go very slowly. Not do anything too dramatic. All right, and then I'm going to hit the sides where it was curling, which is a little bit more. Okay, now let's see. That's better. That's much better. I'm going to do this one more time. And I can tell it's not getting too hot because I can touch it very easily. So it's not getting the direct hit from the heat. So I'm just going to do the edges one more time. Like so. And we're good. Isn't that pretty? Okay, so I'm going to quickly do the rest of these. Let's fast forward through it. So that looks great. Yeah, they're so beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to turn my iron off. So now what we're looking at is if you don't have access to a wood burning tool, you're basically done. All you have to do is add a ribbon or a cording to the top, which I'll show you in a little bit, the cording that I'm going to use for these ornaments. That's all you have to do. But if you have a wood burning tool, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get that out here and I'm going to show you how it will give a little bit more of a finishing edge look to this. Okay, so I got out my wood burning tool, and this is the VersaTool Creative. Oops, there you go, VersaTool Creative. I got it on Amazon. And I went ahead and tested on this one. And because we've left some of the water-soluble stabilizer in to make the ornament stiff, I don't like the way it's finishing off the edges. It gives kind of almost a crunchy feel because some of the stabilizer is still there. So all I'm going to do with these ornaments is I'm going to use it to clean out the inside of the ornament circle. So instead of looking like that, let me do that. You can see it there. I'm going to use the wood burning tool just to clean out the inside, and I'm going to leave the edges the way they are. I think they look nicer with the 1/8 of an inch around. But if you do have one of these tools, you could use the universal tip. Use it like a pencil. Just be very careful and only touch the organza very lightly. Don't leave it on for very long because it will start to go after the thread. And just clean that up in the inside a little bit. And I'll go ahead and I'll do the outside edge of the ornament hook as well, because I think that'll give a little bit cleaner look. But I'm not going to do the outside edge. It just leaves it a little bit, I call it crunchy, because we still have water-soluble stabilizer in the ornament, and it doesn't give kind of a clean cut. So I think it'll look fine with just the ornament hook being done and the rest of it being left with the lace edges. I think that looks good. Okay, and then I'll go ahead, and if there's any straggler edges, go ahead and very gently trim it off with your embroidery scissors that are a little bit finer. There we go. And then there's a one little crunchy that it created over here. It does really well with the organza. The issue is the water-soluble stabilizer. doesn't really melt cleanly. There we go. I like that better. Okay. There. That looks better. I like that. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with the rest of the ornaments. And then all we have to do is add some ribbon or cording. And we'll do that in 2 seconds. Okay. So I did the rest of them. And I definitely like having the ornament hole cleared out and leaving the extra lace on the outside. I think that looks nice and looks kind of ethereal looking, having a little bit of that on the outside edge. So I would use the wood burner tool just for that inside of the ornament hole, and make sure you, like I said, you just touch it just a little bit and don't touch the thread. Okay, try just to touch the inside and the outside of the organza. That looks much better, don't you think? Much better there. Okay. So now I got to keep this unplugged and cooling now. Don't want to take that anywhere because that is hot. So now all we have to do is get some cording that you may have around the house or ribbon or whatever you'd like in order to string your ornaments. Okay, so let's do, let's see, 12 inch. I'm going to do a 10-inch long cord because I know my Christmas tree has big branches and big needles that I need to go over. So I'm just going to do a simple knot on the end, and then I'm going to tighten it, but then I'm going to pull it more towards the end, and then I'm going to tighten it real tight. All right, that'll give a good amount to go on my tree, and then I'm going to trim the edges there. And then we have an ornament ready to go on our tree. It's real simple. It's all you got to do. But again, I have to show you how much these sparkle. Just absolutely sparkle. I can't even tell you how much prettier it is in person. It's pretty on camera, but to see it in person, it really glistens at every movement of the light. It's just gorgeous. So that's it. You have done your ornaments. Are you so excited to put these on your tree? I know I am. So I really hope you enjoyed making these. I enjoyed walking you through it. And I hope this helps you to be able to make these for your tree to give as gifts for loved ones. I really, really enjoyed this project. Let's get those over there. So I'm going to go take a picture of them on the tree. Once I get the rest of the cords on. And then I'll meet you here next time on Jolly Molly TV for another fun video in my video series. I don't know what it's going to be, but I'll give you a hint. It's cookies. All right. I will see you soon. Take care, everybody, and happy stitching. Bye-bye.